So just time for a quick recap of the week, and we begin with the 2016 presidential election, or as you probably know it by now, America's 3D IMAX shitfit dumpster fire 2016. This week, the Republicans held their convention, more on that later, but tomorrow the Democrats' convention begins, and it is off to a bumpy start. Not just because their chair has announced plans to resign due to the contents of thousands of leaked DNC emails, but also because Hillary's pick for running mate of Tim Kaine has not exactly inspired people.
He's a white guy who's a little boring.
He seems kind of dull.
He's somebody that has sort of had just the moniker of boring.
Tim Kaine is a mayonnaise sandwich on whole wheat bread.
Okay, we get it. Tim Kaine is boring. He's a white gym sock pulled all the way up. He's a Granny Smith apple for dessert. He's a single dry hump in the missionary position. And while some commentators tried to fight that narrative, it didn't really work.
You know, maybe he's not the most exciting person in the world, but he has a personality. He really does.
We're making a lot about the fact that Tim Kaine knows how to speak Spanish.
He actually won the 2013 National Press Club Centennial Spelling Bee.
He plays the harmonica, an interesting fun fact.
Is it? Is that a fun fact? Because let's take a look at Tim Kaine playing his harmonica and see exactly how fun it is. That is a performance that would make an insurance firm middle manager turn to his assistant and say, let's not do the talent show next year. But look, while there has been minimal excitement from Democrats regarding the Kaine pick, try and think of it like this. For months, the party's been looking at the VP slot as a gift that Hillary was going to give them. Everyone was so excited to open it. Was it a puppy? A PlayStation? Elizabeth Warren? Well, no, it turned out to be a rice cooker. A plain white machine that cooks plain white rice. That is what Tim Kaine is. And sure, he's got instructions in Spanish, and that's nice to have. But, you know, he is still a fucking rice cooker. Now, Donald Trump also went with a rice cooker of a vice president, except it's worth remembering that, and this is crucial, Mike Pence is a rice cooker covered in homophobic slogans, which is currently being held by a chimpanzee who could bite your face off. So, you know, relax, Democrats, it could have been worse. And for now, let's move on to the continuing fallouts from Brexit, the name for both the UK's decision to leave the European Union and, I'm sure, at least one baby in Brooklyn. Brexit, you put down your kombucha and you come here now. Now, the UK has had a dramatic few weeks. Prime Minister David Cameron has stepped aside and his successor, Theresa May, has taken over. And while it's clearly too early to know exactly what kind of leader she'll be, one of her first appointments was not really reassuring.
There were some surprises. Former London Mayor Boris Johnson is the new Foreign Secretary.
Yes, Boris Johnson, a grown man who looks like a problem child at a daycare centre, is now Britain's new Foreign Secretary. Boris Johnson, a man with such horrifically poor judgment. He wasn't just Britain's most ardent advocate for pulling out of the EU. He may be its strongest argument for pulling out in general. Oh, pull out, Barnaby, pull out! We don't want to accidentally make another Boris. That would be ghastly. Boris is a weird choice for a diplomat because, to put it mildly, he has said a lot of dumb things, as was pointed out during a joint press conference between him and John Kerry.
You've accused the current U.S. President Barack Obama of harboring a part Kenyan's, quote, ancestral dislike for the British Empire, unquote. You've described a possible future U.S. President Hillary Clinton as someone with, quote, dyed blonde hair and pouty lips and a steely blue stare, like a sadistic nurse in a mental hospital, unquote. You've also likened her to Lady Macbeth. Do you take these comments back?
Ooh. It is not a great sign when one of the first questions you're being asked is, are you going to be as bad at your job as all evidence suggests you will be? But Boris Johnson, a man whose face always looks like he just quantum leaped into his own body and hasn't figured out who he is yet, had an answer, sort of.
I'm afraid that there is such a rich thesaurus now of things that I've said that have been one way or another, through what alchemy I do not know, somehow misconstrued, that it would really take me too long to engage in a full global itinerary of apology to all concerned.
Now, interestingly, that is the exact sound that the Oxford English Dictionary makes when you put it in a blender. But while Boris Johnson, a washed-up scarecrow who never even thought to ask the wizard for a brain, seems to think that it would take too long to adjudicate the idiotic things he said and done, let me give you just a taste more of Britain's new chief diplomat, because he's referred to Papua New Guinea-style orgies of cannibalism, he's referred to Africans using these words, which I'm not going to repeat, he's compared Vladimir Putin to Dobby the house elf, wrote a poem about the Turkish president fucking a goat, said the Chinese have zero cultural influence, and once got stuck on a zip line while waving the British flag. But at least in that example, he's only hurting himself, specifically his genitals, or his Boris Johnson, if you will. But watch what he did in an exhibition rugby match to a 10-year-old Japanese child. Boris Johnson might just be the least diplomatic diplomat in existence, which actually makes him perfect for this job, because what better symbol of centuries of British foreign policy than a foppish buffoon stampeding his way around the world, knocking things over, falling flat on his face, and refusing to apologise. And now, this.
And now, a summary of Roger Ailes' contribution to our political discourse.
We'd like to be premier journalists. We'd like to restore objectivity where we find it lacking. We just expect to do fine, balanced journalism.
Iraq is the first domino, and the legal basis for removing Saddam is there.
The image we have of poor people as starving and living in squalor really is not accurate. Many of them have things. What they lack is the richness of spirit.
Santa is what he is, and just so you know, Santa just is white.
Not all Muslims are terrorists, but all terrorists are Muslim. Barack Obama, raised as a Muslim, this is huge.
What do you think about this?
Wednesdays are big days at Hooters, right?
Huge days at Hooters.
It's Wednesday, which means it's Wings Day.
And here comes Brian, and there he's going down. Brian's going down.
Fox News contributor Newt Gingrich.
Fox News contributor Karl Rove.
Fox News contributor Sarah Palin.
And Fox News contributor Mark Furman.
Reverend Jeremiah Wright. The Saul Alinsky playbook.
The War on Christmas, Chick-fil-A,
Chinaman,
Solyndra,
PC Police.
anti-white bias,
The gay agenda.
Nanny State.
long-form birth certificate,
Apology tour.
death panels,
Benghazi.
New Black Panther Party.
Barack Hussein Obama, Ground Zero mosque, class warfare.
Terrorist fist jab.
That is an obscene lie. That is an absolute misrepresentation.
No, busted. No, Tavis.
Let me add one other thing.
It's a cheap political
No, and you know
This is justice.
This has nothing to do with
You want anarchy.
mayor.
You're playing the Obama hater game. You're playing the Obama hater game.
I just love my country, and I fear for it.
Moving on. Our main story this week concerns the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, the most apocalyptic thing ever to happen to that city, and bear in mind, their river has repeatedly caught fire. Now, it has been over for a few days, but we thought it might be worth taking a few extra minutes to try and figure out what the fuck just happened. Because you know you are dealing with a pretty unconventional convention when a speaker opens with this statement.
My name is Dana White. I am the president of the Ultimate Fighting Championship.
The only way that would have made sense is if his next words were, "And I have clearly sleepwalked here. Please gently walk me from the stage and return me to my family. They are very worried." Now, he was actually there to speak to Donald Trump's business acumen, a repeated theme throughout the whole week.
He gets stuff done. Donald Trump is a proven leader.
Innovator. Entrepreneur.
When Donald Trump is in charge, all that counts is ability, effort, and excellence.
He has created jobs for thousands and is one of the greatest visionaries of our time.
Now, before you laugh, you cannot say Trump isn't a visionary. For a long time, he was the only one who envisioned himself as a presidential nominee. He is basically what happens if the secret gets into the wrong hands. But that message of Trump as a skilled manager was somewhat undercut by the fact the entire convention was a mismanaged shit show. From Melania Trump using a partly plagiarised speech, to Ted Cruz being booed off the stage for not endorsing Donald Trump, to the fact that supposedly Donald Trump knew Ted Cruz wouldn't endorse him and didn't care.
The decision came as no surprise to Trump, who tweeted, "I saw his speech 2 hours early, but let him speak anyway. No big deal."
Yeah, but that's not reassuring. If the captain of the Titanic had tweeted after the fact, "I saw that iceberg 2 hours before and sailed into it anyway, no big deal," you wouldn't think, wow, that captain sure ran a tight ship. But you know what? It's actually fitting that Trump had seemingly done so little to prepare for his party's convention, given that the party itself had done so little to prepare for Donald Trump. After the last election, the GOP published a post-mortem report titled The Growth and Opportunity Project, analysing their mistakes and laying out a plan to expand their appeal. Now, it featured passages like, "Many minorities wrongly think that Republicans do not like them or want them in the country," and "We must emphasise the importance of a welcoming, inclusive message, in particular when discussing issues that relate directly to a minority group." Unfortunately, over the past year, that report and its carefully considered suggestions has been overshadowed by a different report titled Literally Everything Donald Trump Has Ever Said and Done. Because this is a guy who suggested building a wall to keep Mexicans out and advocated a temporary ban on Muslims entering the country. So it's like making a New Year's resolution to eat healthy and then spending the next year only eating meals so large that they're free if you eat them in one sitting. But amazingly, through all the chaos and confusion this week, one theme did emerge, and it was accidentally summarised best, and I can't believe I'm saying this, by Antonio Sabato Jr., an IMDb page awarded actor, who delivered a relatively restrained speech before opening his heart regarding President Obama to ABC News.
First of all, I don't believe that the guy is a Christian. I don't believe he follows the God that I love and the Jesus that I love.
You believe that President Obama is a Muslim?
Absolutely.
Is that what you're saying?
Absolutely.
And that is based on what you feel in your heart?
That's what I believe, yeah. And you know what? I have the right to believe that, and you have the right to go against that, but I believe it.
Now, what's revealing there isn't his mistaken belief that President Obama is a Muslim. It's also not the big shock that Antonio Sabato Jr., star of the actual VH1 reality show My Antonio, is still both alive and an idiot. No, what is truly revealing is his implication that believing something to be true is the same as it being true. Because if anything, that was the theme of the Republican convention this week. It was a 4-day exercise in emphasising feelings over facts.
People around the country feel the Obama administration has kicked them to the curb.
Our country right now is in a very bad spot. You can feel it.
The vast majority of Americans today do not feel safe.
There's a lot of Americans out there who feel like Democrat politicians have taken them for granted.
The whole economy feels stuck.
What do you mean it feels stuck? The economy is about numbers. Feelings are supposed to be irrelevant. Incidentally, feelings are supposed to be irrelevant is a phrase that's inscribed on every British marriage certificate. and this focus on feelings reached its apex in Donald Trump's acceptance speech, which was light on concrete policy, but heavy on provoking strong emotions.
Decades of progress made in bringing down crime are now being reversed. I know that corruption has reached a level like never, ever before in our country. Poverty and violence at home, war and destruction abroad. 180,000 illegal immigrants with criminal records ordered deported from our country are tonight roaming free to threaten peaceful citizens.
Holy shit! He sounds like he's about to announce the first annual Hunger Games. But look, it is worth noting that since President Obama took office, crime rates, the flow of illegal immigrants over our borders, and claims for unemployment benefits have all declined. And yet, frighteningly, when reporters started pointing that out, it didn't seem to matter. Just watch as Newt Gingrich brushed off any effort to fact-check Trump's claims about the US crime rate.
Violent crime is down. The economy is ticking up.
It is not down in the biggest cities.
Violent crime, murder rate is down. How
come it's up in Chicago, up in Baltimore, and up in Washington?
There are pockets where certainly we have not tackled
your national
murder
capital, your third biggest city.
But violent crime across the country is down.
The average American, I will bet you this morning, does not think crime is down, does not think they are safer.
But it is. We are safer, and it is down.
No, that's your view. I just told no.
These are the national FBI facts.
But what I said is also what I said is also a fact.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. It's only a fact that that's a feeling people have. This is a graph of the violent crime rate. It's not a fucking Rorschach test. You can't infer anything you like from it. And sure, you can cherry-pick recent upticks in some cities, but the overall trend across the country during the Obama presidency, and indeed for the last 25 years, is down. But Newt wasn't done.
The current view is that liberals have a whole set of statistics which theoretically may be right, but it's not where human beings are.
But what you're saying is... But hold on, Mr. Speaker, because you're saying liberals use these numbers, they use this sort of magic math. This is the FBI statistics. They're not a liberal organization.
No,
they're a crime-fighting
what I said is equally true. People feel more threatened.
Yes, they feel it, but the facts don't support it.
As a political candidate, I'll go with how people feel, and I'll let you go with the theoreticians.
He just brought a feeling to a fucking fact fight. And it is worth taking just a moment to seriously consider what Gingrich was saying there, because think about it. I think we can all agree that candidates can create feelings in people. And what Gingrich is saying is that feelings are as valid as facts. So then, by the transitive property, candidates can create facts, which is terrifying, because that means someone like Donald Trump can essentially create his own reality, and that is the closest thing to an actual magic spell I think I've ever seen. And if you're thinking, well, hold on, eventually reality will set in, because if elected, Trump would actually have to deal with facts. Well, I'm not so sure about that. Just this week, The Times reported that not only was John Kasich asked if he had any interest in the vice presidency by the Trump campaign, he was offered quite a lot more.
Donald Trump Jr. even called one of John Kasich's top aides and said that if he wanted the job, he could even be in charge of foreign and domestic policy, which, of course, is kind of everything.
Yeah, exactly. The only thing that is not foreign policy or domestic policy is space policy, which leads me to believe Donald Trump's entire goal is to eventually own the moon. But it gets better, because apparently when Kasich's advisors asked what Trump would be in charge of, the response was, making America great again. Which, objectively, is not a job, but I guess it feels like one, and it seems that's all that fucking matters now. Now, the Trump family disputed that story, naturally, but it does often seem like Trump is more interested in attention than the hard work of getting things done in a complicated political system. Just last night, he tweeted out what seemed to be his main takeaway from this convention. OK. First, 24 out of 75 is 32%, not 33. But that doesn't matter. That clearly doesn't matter. The point is, look, the notion that Donald Trump would be a hands-off president might actually represent the best-case scenario here. The much more frightening prospect would be if he were hands-on. Because between those 24 minutes of applause was a symphony of bile and race-baiting. Remember, this is a man who has retaliated against journalists and at various points has advocated killing terrorist families, endorsed torture and expressed admiration for leaders like Kim Jong-un, Saddam Hussein and Vladimir Putin. His message this week was the message of every strong man ever. The world is dangerous and only I can make you safe. And if that sounds scary, there have been warning signs. Just watch this DVD extra from the first season of The Apprentice. It's a music video they made. And it gives you a sense of how Donald Trump envisions himself.
This is a dictatorship, and I'm the dictator. There's no voting, there's no jury. Dictator. No jury. Dictator. No jury.
Oh, sure. It's funny now to hear him say he's a dictator as a voice in the background says slave to the master over and over again. But unless we're careful, by this time next year, that could be America's new national anthem. And now, this.
And now, a few more highlights from the Republican National Convention.
What's up, GOP?
I come from a long line of lumberjacks.
My dream was to be a circus performer.
I'm now an avocado grower.
Who's proud to be an American?
We don't apologize for America. We celebrate America.
From the top to the bottom, from the middle to the side.
ISIS is present in all 50 states.
Crooked Hillary Clinton, leave this race now.
A day in the life of a coal miner and a day in the life of Hillary Clinton could not be more different.
Are we willing to elect someone as president who has as their role model somebody who acknowledges Lucifer?
We have in our hands the steering wheel of one of America's one political party in this country that no matter whatever turn, whether we turn bumpy roads, but we are not going to turn left. We know that.
Or as Larry the Cable Guy would say, let's get her done.
Mr. Trump is America's blue-collar billionaire.
Is Donald Trump a messiah? No. He's just a man.
A man I love so much. That's my father.
Come January 17, all things will be possible again.
Visit yrnf.org and we will make America great again.
And finally this week, there were clearly many mistakes made at the RNC, but I'd like to mention just one more regarding Donald Trump's choice of song for his entrance on Monday night. Yes, that is Queen being played at the Republican National Convention. So it's with a heavy heart that I announce Freddie Mercury dead again at age 69. Now, Queen didn't give Trump permission to use that song, tweeting it was an unauthorised use at the Republican convention against our wishes. And yet, on his closing night, Trump used another unauthorised song to cover him dropping what was an almost sarcastic amount of balloons. And you will never guess what song it was. You can't always get what you want. No shit. But look, Trump has used unauthorised music throughout his campaign, and if you think you can't always get what you want was a bit on the nose, just wait until you hear what song he used ahead of a speech he gave on the Iran nuclear deal. And just so you know, this is real, we did not alter the audio at all.
Businessman Donald Trump!
It's the end of the world as we know it. It's the end of the world as we know it.
I mean, that is just too perfect. Trump may as well have been riding out on stage with the three other horsemen of the apocalypse. And to be fair, it is by no means just Trump who has angered musicians by using their music without permission. Mike Huckabee pissed off Survivor by using Eye of the Tiger, and Scott Walker had this happen.
After Wisconsin Governor Scott Walker used music from the Dropkick Murphys, they tweeted at him, "We literally hate you."
Look, they may be angry Boston hooligans, but I'll say this about the Dropkick Murphys. They know when to properly use the word literally. And none of this is anything new. Politicians have been appropriating pop music for as long as anyone can remember. Over the years, Sarah Palin has gotten in trouble for using Heart's Barracuda. John McCain was asked to stop using 2 John Mellencamp songs. The DNC was criticised by Cyndi Lauper for using True Colours. And perhaps most famously, 3 decades ago, there was this.
Ronald Reagan used the song Born in the USA in 1984 for his re-election campaign until Springsteen suggested maybe he should listen to the lyrics.
Springsteen actually penned the tune about the dark side of the American story and the harsh treatment of Vietnam veterans.
Now, to be fair to Reagan, most people don't realise that. I always assumed that, like every other Springsteen song, it was about struggling midnight heroes and their barefoot lovers, all named Mary, who broke free of that one-horsepower town on bikes chased by shadows. But, the point here is, if artists want to lend their music to politicians, that's fine. But it is not OK for politicians to just take their songs. This happens every single election. And it is time for musicians to come together and take a stand.
It's that time of year, campaign season's here.
You'll wave and point and make your speeches while balloons fall everywhere.
But we notice something's wrong, and it's gone on way too long. So we're asking you right now, stop using our songs.
Yes, so turn on your laser light show, fire up your confetti machine.
Bring out your smiling backdrop of ethnically diverse teens.
Stop using our music, that's a one and only rule. We didn't write these songs to make your campaign stop seem cool.
Don't use our song, 'cause you used it wrong.
It might seem appealing, but you're just stealing.
Don't use our song, it just seems wrong.
By the time this tune is through, you'll be lucky if we don't sue.
Don't use our song, no.
That's licensing. You gotta call my publisher, okay?
You always take our music out of context anyway.
Why would Reagan be playing Born in the USA?
It's about Vietnam.
Oh, thank you for not paying me. That's a license you didn't buy.
If I wanted to sing and not get paid, I'd be on Spotify.
Don't use our song. I mean, come on. You knew we'd find out. This is like the 6th time now.
Don't use our song, no, no.
'Cause it's not
Your
your
song. You're lucky we don't sue. And what's the deal with all those balloons?
Don't use our song.
Hey! And just to be clearer, you can't use this song either. But here's one tune we all agree that you can use anytime for free.
Don't use our song.
All right, come on, y'all.
For real, come on.
Don't you use it? You're lucky if we don't sue.
And what's the deal with all those balloons?